Video's hearing
That may be an
nothing.
issue.
The video's hearing nothing from me. It's hearing you guys.
All right. So wait, do I just start reading, or do I like do like the whole audiobook thing? It's like Pest by Hot Water Phobia. Summary. After a fight between Vito's obsession and Annie tore the family in two, Evil left Annie to live life anew,
Is this
leaving
fuck
Neuro to
Annie?
stick with Vito. Years later into the future, Neuro sends a letter to Annie, begging for a chance to reconcile with her younger sister. Chapter 1. Neuro sat on a weathered bench in Castle Park, Bristol. Her fingers drummed in regular rhythm against peeling grain paint. The autumn air carried a hint of the nearby Avon River, mixing with the scent of fallen leaves and distant ship shops. Her mind wandered to the leftover shepherd's pie waiting at home. Enough for Dad's dinner, though she needed to pick up his medication first. Maybe she could swap Saturday's pub shift for an early morning one. Get better tips during breakfast. Tap, tap, tap. The corner shop had offered her more hours. That could cover next month's heating bill, but it meant giving up her only free afternoon. Dad needed the warmth now more than ever. His hands shaking too much these days too. Tap, tap, tap. No, don't think about the shaking. Think about work. About the pile of dishes waiting in the pub kitchen. About Mrs. Peterson's borrowed bus fare. About anything else. You're destroying this family, Annie's voice crashed through her carefully constructed walls. Tap, 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 tap. Focus on the trees, count the leaves. Wow, there's so many fucking notifications. Off. I built everything we have, Vito's words slid together, a thunderous roar. Every fucking thing, and you want to run away? To Japan? Run away? Annie's laugh was brittle. Look at yourself. Look what you're doing to our children. Tap, 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 tap. The world began to blur. She needed to check if she had enough paracetamol at home. Dad's fever had been worse lately. Dad's right, her own voice, young, desperate. We can't leave. Evil, tell her we can't. Can't you see what's happening? Evil's measured tone, trying to remain calm. He needs help, Neuro. We can start over there. All of us. He doesn't need help. He needs us to stay. A crash. Vito shoving Andy in the kitchen counter, glass shattering the floor. Just listen to reason, Evil started reaching for Vito's arm. Shut up, Vito's voice cracking. You're just like her, always thinking you know better. Tap, 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 tap. Empty bottles spattered the linen floor like fallen soldiers. One had rolled near her feet, blue-green glass catching the kitchen fluorescence. Her fingers found it without looking, muscle memory from countless mornings of cleaning up after Dad. It felt cold against her palm. Evil stood there. Perfect Evil with her perfect grades and perfect logic. Mouth open to deliver another perfectly reasonable argument for why they should abandon him. The distance between them was nothing. 3 steps. She remembered counting them. Remembered how the bottle seemed to grow lighter as she moved. Remembered thinking how Evil's eyes widened just a fraction too late. Nero, no! Her eyes snapped open, heart hammering against her ribs. When has she stopped breathing? The park swam back into focus, and with it a figure approaching against the long, leaf-strewn path. Tall, poised, pulling a sleek silver suitcase that probably cost more than 3 months of her rent. A familiar face, accompanied by a sleek ponytail rather than her childhood waves. The scar caught the autumn light, a pale line running from temple to jaw, barely visible unless you knew exactly where to look. Unless you were the one who put it there. Evil. Her sister. Her twin. The tapping stopped, her fingers frozen mid-rhythm against the peeling paint. The autumn breeze rustled dead leaves between them. Evil stood several meters away, one hand still on her suitcase handle, as immobile as the park's iron gates. Her posture was perfect, shoulders back, chin level. The kind of poise Nero had only seen in magazines left in doctors' waiting rooms. Tailored charcoal blazer and pencil skirt screamed corporate success, while Nero had become painfully aware of her faded band t-shirt, the one with the small tear near the collar she'd been meaning to stitch sometime. 14 years. 14 years since they'd stood face to face. and her sister looked like she'd walked straight out of a business magazine. At 24, Evil had grown into someone Nero barely recognized. Gone were the dramatic poses and grandiose speeches about conquering the world through darkness. This Evil carried herself with the quiet authority of someone who had actually done it. Minus the theatrics, of course. The silence stretched. Somewhere, a child out on the playground. A bus rumbled past. Nero's gaze dropped to a cigarette butt by her feet, studying its crushed filter like it held answers. Her fingers unconsciously tugged at her shirt hem, trying to straighten wrinkles that had long since become permanent. A decade ago, they'd worn matching uniforms, traded clothes, finished each other's sentences. Now the gulf between them was measured in more than just meters. Her voice cracked. She swallowed, try again with the best customer service smile, the one she'd practiced for hours in the pub's bathroom mirror. I'm so glad you came! The weather's nice today, isn't it? Perfect for walking. The words tumbled out too fast, too bright, like dropping a handful of coins that scatter across the floor. Evil didn't move. Didn't blink. Just watched those red eyes that used to spark with mischief, now as cool and evaluating as a banker reviewing a loan application. The silver watch on her wrist probably cost more than Nero made in 3 months. There's this new shopping center they built last year, Nero continued, her cheerfulness taking on a desperate edge, hands fidgeting with her house keys in her pocket. Nothing fancy like what you're probably used to in Japan, but remember how we used to spend our hours at the mall? That time you convinced me those light-up trainers or secretly government tracking devices? She attempted to laugh that died halfway up her throat. You had this whole conspiracy theory about how the blinking patterns were Morse code, and I actually believed you for weeks. Eva's expression didn't change, not even a flicker of recognition at the memory. The scar caught the light once again. A pale line that had once been an angry red. Back when they were 14, and the world hadn't split in two. I'd prefer to see the house. Evil's tone was final. Oh. The word fell into the stone like a pond. What? The word fell into... What? The word fell into a stone... What? I read that wrong 3 times. Oh, the word fell into... What? The word fell like a stone into a pond. Cool. Okay. Yes, of course. Nero stood, hand smoothing her worn jacket, trying to brush away years of wear. It's this way. She gestured vaguely toward the park exit, the movement too jerky, too eager. The sound Evil's expensive suitcase wheels on the cracked pavement followed her like a ticking clock. Each click seemed to echo, success, failure, success, failure. They reached a bustling sidewalk, cars honking and drivers rambling through the chaos of the afternoon. A black cab called past, its available light glowing. Nero's hand shot automatically, but she hesitated, glancing at Evil's suitcase, then at her own worn wallet. The cab slowed. Evil spoke for the first time, refusing the mall, reaching for her designer purse. No, Nero's voice came out sharper than intended. She sharpened it with a smile that felt stretched way too thin. No, I've got it. I'm the host, remember? She pulled out the emergency 20 she'd been saving for Dad's medicine. They could manage without it for another day. Probably. Cab ride was a study in contrasts. Evil sat straight back, hands folded in her lap, while Nero found herself hunching further into her corner each passing minute. The driver attempted conversation, commenting on the remarkable resemblance. Eva's polite, thank you, held the kind of refined accent that came from international schools and board meetings. Nero just nodded, watching our childhood neighborhood scroll past a window. The taxi pulled up to the curb, brakes squealing. Nero scrambled to pay while Evil stepped out, her heels clicking against cracked concrete. The sound echoed off the concrete blocks of the state, sharp and professional against her childhood backdrop of satellite dishes and drying laundry. The state hadn't changed much in 14 years. The same concrete blocks rising against the gray sky, some graffiti on the corner shop's shutters, though the tags were different now. Mrs. Peterson's cat watched them from its usual windowsill as they approached the building. 3rd floor, no elevator. Nero had never been more aware of the stained carpet on the stairs, a flickering hallway light management hadn't replaced in months. sorry, she found herself saying as they climbed. The lift spin out For how long? She couldn't remember. Evil said nothing. Her suitcase wheels caught in every uneven step, the expensive leather looking more and more out of place with each floor they passed. Their door was the one with peeling blue paint and 3 locks, added up the second break-in last year. Nero's keys jingled nervously in her hands, one lock stuck, like always. What? Owl soup? What? Okay, whatever. Stop and fix that then. The world's had no warmth, just clinical observation. Like noting mold on a wall, or rust on a pipe. Nero's hands trembled slightly on key, but she forced them steady. The lock finally gave. The flat had never felt smaller. Their old family photos still hung crooked on the walls. Mom had always rated them, before. A collection of empty pill bottles cluttered the kitchen counter, next to a stack of unpaid bills she tried to hide under a takeaway menu. The air held a stale sweetness of cheap air freshener, failing to mask something else. Dad's probably sleeping, Nero said quickly, moving to an open window. He gets tired in the afternoons now. But he's so happy to... A harsh cough echoed from the back bedroom, followed by an unmistakable sound of retching. Nero's sentence died. She stood frozen by the window, hand still on the latch as another cough rattled through the flat. Nero? Vito's voice, once admitting, was now thin and needy. Is someone there? Evil took half a step back, her poise wavering for just a fraction of a second. A micro-expression of something ancient and scared flashing across her face before a mask of corporate indifference slipped back into its place. Her eyes swept the room like a health inspector, lingering on the empty bottles, the water stains on the ceiling, the worn spots on Nero's shirt, where her pub apron rubbed. Her lips curled slightly, so subtle it might have been nothing. But Nero saw it. Of course she saw it. She spent 10 years reading her twins' every expression. I should... Nero gestured vaguely towards the bedroom, her cheerful mask cracking under the measured stare. He needs his medicine, and the bucket needs cleaning, and... How long has it been like this? The question wasn't kind. It wasn't concerned. It was the tone of an auditor discovering cooked books of a judge reviewing evidence. Nero felt herself shrinking under it. Oh, it's not so bad. The fake smile was back, almost as automatic as breathing. He has good days. Last week he even managed to... Nero? Vito called again, weaker this time. Okay, I kind of did that the opposite, whatever. Did you get my medicine? Evil's expression didn't change, but her posture stiffened imperceptibly. Her eyes finished their circuit of their flat and laid on Nero with the weight of a gavel. We need to talk. After you've helped him. It wasn't a request. It wasn't really a statement. It was the kind of tone that moved corporate mountains, that expected obedience. Nero nodded, feeling 14 again, watching her sister's blood drip onto the kitchen floor. This time, though, Evil wasn't one of them pleading. The suitcase stayed by the door, like a threat. Nero stepped into the darkened bedroom, closing the door softly behind her. The familiar smell of illness and stale sweat wrapped around her like an old blanket. Vito lay curled on his side, the bones of his shoulders sharp against his thin t-shirt, skin holding a sickly yellow tinge in the light. Cirrhosis. That's what the doctors called it. Final bill for a lifetime of drinks. Sorry, Dad, she whispered, reaching for the bucket. Got cut up at work. The light came easily now. Practice as their own customer service smile. Thought I heard voices. His words slurred together. Shaking hands, trying to push himself up. Someone here? Careful! Nora rushed forward, spreading his back. The doctor said not to strain yourself. Don't tell me what to do! He snapped, then immediately softened. Sorry, Princess. Just... frustrated. Being weak like this. Her heart twisted. You're not weak, Dad. You're just... Did you get my medicine? He changed the subject. Like always when things got too real. Another habit she had inherited. Nero's hand stilled on the bucket. Just need to clean this up first. She couldn't tell him. Not yet. Not when he was like this. Her fingers found the damp cloth by his bed. Began the routine of wiping his face, checking his temperature. The rattling in his chest seemed worse today. Such a good girl, he mumbled, his eyes unfocused. My good girl, not like... His words drifted off into labored breathing. Not like them. You stayed. You understand. I do, Dad. She measured out the morphine with trembling hands. I understand. They didn't believe in me, but you do. My projects, they just need more time. More funding. You'll see. Of course, Dad. The same conversation they'd had 100 times. Here. Medicine time. Swallowed immediately. Like a child. Could have been rich, if Ellie hadn't. If they just... Sometimes, on bad days, he called her Annie. Those were better than the days he remembered who she really was. When she emerged from the bedroom, Eva stood by the window, silhouetted against the gray afternoon light. She had removed her blazer, but somehow looked even more formal in just her silk blouse. Scar caught the light again. Sit. Narrow glance at her mother's old armchair, Evil's chosen seat, then perched on the edge of the sofa. The springs creaked beneath her. You're working 3 jobs. Not a question. Evil's eyes hadn't missed multiple uniforms hanging behind the door. The different name tags scattered on the counter. It's not so. The medicine he needs costs more than you make. The landlord's notice is under the bill. 3 months behind. Nero's hands twisted in her lap. When had Evil seen this? How long had she been cataloging their failures while Nero's in the bedroom? We get by, she whispered to her knees, feeling heat rise in her chest. No, Evo's voice could have cut glass. You don't. You're destroying yourself trying to save a man who chose his pride over his family. Just like he did. Something sharp and hot flared in Nero's chest. Her fingers dug into the sofa's worn fabric. You don't know anything about what he chose. I know he's still talking about neurotech, still blaming everyone else, still watching you work yourself to death to fund his delusions. Each word precise, measured, cutting. And I know you're becoming him. Nero's vision blurred at the edges. Her throat felt tight. Shut up. The same stubborn pride, the same refusal to see reality, the same, I said, shut up. The words came out in a harsh whisper, mindful of the thin walls. Her hands curled into fists without her noticing. There it is. Evil's voice had no satisfaction, just cold observation. That rage. Just like him. The room seemed to tilt. Nero gripped the sofa's arm harder, remembering the smooth curve of a bottle, the sound of breaking glass. I have a proposition. The clinical tone cut through her rising fury. Evil stood perfectly still, one manicured hand resting against on the windowsill. There's a private facility in Tokyo, the best hepatology unit in Asia. Mother's position at the company includes comprehensive family medical coverage. Each word fell precisely, like stones into still water. He would receive proper treatment, professional care, real doctors, not overworked NHS registrars. The room seemed to tilt. Nero's rage stuttered, caught off guard. You... She swallowed hard. You want to take him to Japan? No. Evil finally turned from the window. The afternoon light caught her face at an angle that erased the scar, making her look 14 again. I want to save you both. Despite everything. A laugh bubbled up in Nero's throat, harsh and strange. Save us? Like you saved us by leaving? Her voice trembled with suppressed fury. By running away with Mom and letting him what? Destroy himself? Destroy you? Evil's perfect posture didn't waver. Look at yourself, Nero. When did you last eat more than 4 hours? When did you last eat something that wasn't leftover pub food? Stop it. You're working 3 jobs to support his addiction to failure, living on caffeine pills and desperation. Just like he did before I said, stop it. Nero's voice was a whisper, nearly a hiss, her body half rising from the sofa. The familiar heat of rage pulsed behind her eyes. Evil didn't flinch, didn't even blink, just watched her with those calculating red eyes. Going to hit me again, sister? It worked so well last time. The words were like ice water. Nero sank down, the fury draining away to leave something hollow in his wake. I'm not... Her voice cracked. I wouldn't. No? Evil moved away from the window, each step measured. Then prove it. Stop repeating his mistakes. Stop letting pride kill you both. Why do you even care? The words came out small, broken. You left. You both left. You didn't care then, so what? Because you're my sister. Simple words. Stated like a fact. Like a business proposition. No warmth, no forgiveness, just reality. And he's killing you. Just like he killed their marriage. Just like he's killing himself. The only difference is, you still have a choice. A cough rattled from the bedroom, followed by a weak call. Neuro is someone. Evil's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Ancient fear mixing with something harder. The facility has a 6-month waiting list. I've already reserved 2 spots. Think carefully about your next move, sister. Some mistakes can't be undone. She placed a card on the counter, next to the unpaid bills. The embossed letters caught the light. Evelyn Samantha, Chief Operations Officer. I'm at the Holiday Inn through Sunday. Make your choice. Just remember, she paused at the door, handing resting on the suitcase handle. Last time someone offered a chance like this. His pride cost him everything. Don't let history repeat itself. The suitcase wheels clicked against the floor as she left. Failure. 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 Nero stood, frozen by the sofa. The business card gleaming on the counter like broken glass as her father called her name again from the darkness. In the dim light, her reflection in the window looked just like him. Shoulders hunched, eyes haunted, hand shaking with barely contained emotion. She reached for the card, then stopped, fingers curling into a fist. In the bedroom, Neil began to cough again. All right, now it's going to be chapter 1. Do we want to read chapter 2, or do you want to hop to someone else's fic? I love this eager clap emoji. Hell yeah. We can if you want. I'm down for whatever.
You're gonna read more, basically?
Do you want me to? I can.
Yeah, you can. You have, like, up to an hour if you want.
Holy shit, I have an hour?
Yeah.
You spoil me.
You have,
I mean-
like, an hour, and Shibo has, like, an hour.
You know, there are time limits. Okay, let's go. Pog. Okay, but first, water.
Yeah.
All right, chapter 2. The lunch rush at the King's Head wasn't so much a rush as it was a war of attrition. Nero balanced 3 plates along her left arm. Bangers and mash, shepherd's pie, fish and chips, while her right hand clutched a fourth, trying not to let the mushy peas slide off into the sticky floor. The kitchen seat pressed against her back, mingling with the smell of old beer and cheaper cleaning supplies. Order up, Chef Morgan's voice cut through the cloud of dishes. Table 7 still waiting on their Sunday roast. Just a sec, Nero started, but he'd already turned back to the grill, muttering about slow service. Her shoulders ached from holding the plates at this exact angle. Careful not to let anything touch the worn uniform she had over the evening shift at the corner shop. Got your back, love. Ugh, I can't do British. Minnie swooped past, sagging the 4th plate with practiced ease. Her blonde hair was pulled back in his usual severe bun for work, but a few strands had escaped, giving her that effortlessly disheveled look. Nero could never quite manage. Table 4, yeah? Minnie, you're a lifesaver. The relief in Nero's voice was perhaps a touch too genuine, too grateful for such a small gesture. She watched Minnie weave between tables with enviable grace, stopping to chat with the regulars, her laugh carrying across the pub like wind chimes. Actually, I was wondering if after rush you might have admitted to... Sorry, love, Minnie called back, holding 3 tables away. Tell me later, yeah? Minnie made it look so easy. Everything about her seemed to belong here. From the way she balanced plates to how she could even turn the grumpiest customer moves around with a well-timed joke. She was everyone's favorite aunt, sister, friend, all wrapped up in a pub uniform and sensible shoes. Nero delivered her own plates with considerably less flourish, nearly dropping the shepherd's pie when her hand trembled. She skipped her morning medication again. Choice between her own prescriptions and Dad's wasn't really a choice at all. Not really. Anything else I can get you? Her customer service smile felt strange thin. But she held it steady. The businessman at table 6 barely looked up from his phone, gesturing vaguely at his empty pint. Minnie, a group of regulars called from the counter. Come tell David about that thing with the karaoke night. Minnie bounced over, leading Nero to hand out the growing stack of dirty dishes. Alone. That was fine. More than fine. Minnie deserved a break. Deserved to have fun. The fact that it never seemed to want Nero to join those conversations was... well, it was... The place got her too loudly as she stacked them. One fork slipped, leaving a streak of gravy across her apron. Perfect. Just perfect. You're right there, sweet. Minnie's voice carried that particular tone, concern wrapped in cheer. That kind that made Nero's teeth ache. You seem a bit... Fine, fine. The word came out too bright. Too sharp. Nero softened it with a laugh that sounded fake even to her own ears. Just tired, you know how it is. Actually, I've been to ask. My sister's in town. I could really use some advice about... Order up, table 12. I've got it. Minnie was already moving, the words dying unspoken on Nero's lips. She watched her friend glide between tables, stopping to chat with Susan from the post office, with old Mr. Richards in his crossword, with everyone except... Her phone buzzed in her apron pocket. The text from the corner shop manager. Could she come in early? Samir had called in sick again. They really needed someone to cover, and she was so reliable, so good at picking up extra shifts. The screen blurred slightly. She blinked hard, thumb hovering over the reply button. Fast medicine would run out by Thursday. The heating bills are already 2 weeks overdue, and Evil's business card had still been sitting on the counter at home. Its embossed letters catching the light every time she walked past it. Of course, she typed back. Happy to help. Smile. 3 exclamation points, 2 emoji. The proper ratio of enthusiasm to desperation. Minnie, she called out softly, gathering her courage. When you get a chance, I really need to... Nero! Chef Morgan's voice called again. Table 7's still waiting. Coming! She squared her shoulders, plastered on her best smile. The one that made seasoned tips from the afternoon crowd. And grabbed the plates. The tremor in her hands was barely noticeable if you weren't looking for it. Did you hear about Saturday? One of the regulars called out. Big group of us going dancing. Minnie, you have to come. Wouldn't miss it. Minnie's voice had genuine warmth. She caught Nero's eye across the pub. Something like guilt flicking across her face. Hey, Nero, maybe you could... But Nero was already pushing through the kitchen doors. The sound of conversations and laughter muffling behind her. The heat hit her like a wall, making her dizzy. Or maybe that's caffeine pills wearing off, or the missed breakfast, or... Her phone buzzed again. Dad, probably, wondering where his lunch was. Or Evil. Her perfectly typed messages somehow radiating disapproval through the screen. Or the landlord about rent. Or... Order up! She straightened her apron, checked her smile in the greasy reflection of a pot, and grabbed the next plate. 5 hours until corner shop duty. 8 until she could check on Dad. 10 until she could maybe sleep. The nightmare stayed away. Minnie's laugh drifted in from the pub, wrapped in the warmth of belonging. Nero's fingers tightened on the plate's edge, knuckles white against the cheap ceramic. Everything was fine. She was fine. This was fine. The tremor in her hand said otherwise, though. The walk from the corner shop was exactly 47 minutes if you took Sherman Road. Nero had got the steps once, back when the first round of buttercuts meant choosing between bus fare and Dad's evening pills. 2,833 steps, give or take a few stumbles. Tonight, though, it felt like more. The October wind bit through a thin jacket. The good one was saved for pub shift, where appearances made tips. Her work shoes, brought second-hand and a size too small, had worn through the heel. Each step sent a dull shock up her legs, a steady rhythm of discomfort she had learned to ignore. Tap, 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 tap. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. 12 hours on her feet. Nothing in her stomach but a half packet of crisps nicked from damaged stock and enough caffeine pills to make her heart flutter. The world swayed slightly at the edges, street lights bleeding into smears of yellow against the darkening sky. Tap, 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 tap. She'd missed Dad's afternoon medicine schedule. Again. Phone had died halfway through her corner shop shift, the ancient battery finally giving up. To be angry, or worse, disappointed. That quiet, heavy disappointment that reminded her of so much of Evil's eyes in their flat. A car splashed through a puddle nearby. She didn't have the energy to jump away, the dirty water sucking through her already damp shoes. Trevor didn't stop, barely even slow down. The nausea hit suddenly, forcing her to grab a lamppost for support. Her vision tunneled, dark spots dancing at the edges. When was the last time she actually eaten a proper meal? The shepherd's pie leftovers from the pub had gone to Dad the day before. Had there been something the day before? Just a bit further, she whispered to herself, the words forming tiny clouds in the cold air. Just a bit. Just. Her legs buckled. She caught herself against a low wall, rough brick scraping against her palms. The world tilted sickeningly. A group of students walked past on the other side of the street, their laughter carrying on the wind. They looked about her age, heading to or from some pub, wrapped in proper winter coats and the warm glow of belonging. One girl's laugh sounded like Minnie's. Tap, 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 tap. The tears came without warning, hot against her cold cheeks. She swiped them away roughly with the sleeve, leaving streaks of dirt from the wall. Crying was useless. Crying didn't pay bills or buy medicine or fix anything. Eva's business card seemed to burn in her pocket. She transferred it from her pub uniform. It was such a simple solution, typed in elegant font on expensive paper. All she had to do was surrender, admit defeat, accept that Eva had been right all along. Her phone would be dead when she got home. No way to call for help if Dad had another episode. No way to check if Eva had sent more messages, each one perfectly punctuated, demanding an answer to. There's no way to. A fox darted across the road, startling her. For a moment, its eyes caught the streetlight, bright red, like Evil's, like the blood on the kitchen floor 2 years ago. Like, stop it, she hissed to herself, pushing herself off the wall. Stop being pathetic. Stop being weak. Stop being just like him. Evil's words echoed in her head, precise as the surgeon's knife. She straightened her shoulders, trying to smooth her dirty uniform. 2 more streets. Just 2 more. She could do this. She had to do this. Her stomach cramped violently, reminding her of its emptiness. The world swam again. Lampposts doubling and blurring. She caught fragments of her reflection in a shop window. Hollow eyes, unwashed hair, shoulders hunched against more than just a cold. When had she started looking so much like him? Tap, 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 tap. One foot in front of the other, step by step, just like everything else. Don't think about the hunger. Don't think about the cold. Don't think about Minnie's laugh or Evil's eyes or Dad's disappointment or... A cat watched her from the garden wall, its tail swishing slowly. For a moment, she thought it might be Mrs. Peterson's. A friendly face. Finally. But no. Just another stranger in a city full of them. The tears came. This time she didn't bother wiping them away. Nobody was watching. Not really. Tap, 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 tap. 1,000 steps to go. Or was it 2,000? The numbers blurred together. Like the lights. Like the pain in her feet. Like everything else. She started counting again, her whispers lost in the wind. 1, 2, 3. Just keep walking. Tap, 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 tap. Just keep moving. Tap, tap. Just keep. The night swallowed her whole. The key is stuck in the lock again. Her fingers were too numb to feel the metal, too clumsy to feel the right angle. On the 3rd try, the door finally creaked open. The flat was dark except for the flickering blue light of the TV in Vito's room. She carefully stepped over the squeaky floorboard by the entrance, muscle memory guiding her through the shadows. The air smelled of cheap air freshener and something medical. She found him asleep in his armchair, head tilted at an awkward angle that would hurt in the morning. The TV cast strange shadows across his face, making him look younger somehow. A half-empty cup of tea sat forgotten on the side table. Stone cold now. His project notebooks were scattered around him. Pages and pages of cramped handwriting and technical diagrams. Ideas that could have changed the world. Once. In the blue light, she could just make out his latest notes. Quantum processing breakthrough. Contact investors immediately. Revolutionary potential. The same dreams. The same brilliant mind, trapped in an endless soup of almost success. His hands twitched in his sleep, fingers moving like he was still writing. The tremors were worse now, but his face was peaceful. None of the pain or frustration that haunted his waking hours, just Dad. Her dad. The one who used to spend hours explaining circuit boards to her, who'd beam with pride when she understood a complex concept, She pulled the threadbare blanket from the sofa and carefully draped it over him. A lifetime ago, he had done the same for her, after a late night spent working on projects together. Just need more time, he mumbled in his sleep. Almost there. Almost. The tears came silently, hot trails down her cold cheeks. The legs finally gave out, and she sank to the floor beside his chair, pressing her face against a worn fabric to muffle any sound. The whole body shook with the effort of quiet crying. The business card in her pocket felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. He'd die if she told him. Die of shame, betrayal, of knowing his last loyal defender had finally given up on him, just like everyone else had. Just like Evil had. Tomorrow. Figured something out tomorrow. Pick up an extra shift, skip a few more meals, anything but this. Anything but admitting Evil was right. Her breath was wheezing slightly, the rattle that terrified her on bad nights. Without looking, she reached up and found his hand, his skin paper thin under her fingertips. The gesture was automatic, a child, seeking comfort from a parent who couldn't give it anymore. The TV droned on, painting them both in shifting shades of blue. All right. Personally, I got a dip. This has been very fun. Thank you for having me. This is chapter 2 of Pest. Very happy to be here. Yes. Is there anything I need to do now, or do I need to like sign a check-in sheet to make sure I was here? I hope we didn't fall asleep. Shad. Hello.
Shad, wake up.
Wake up. Please?
Shad, wake up. It's time to go to school.
Damn. Well, I kind of wouldn't want to leave you guys like high and dry because I feel it's kind of rude.
I mean, what else would you do?
I don't know. Just kind of stay here and take the embarrassment, fill up his hard drive space.
Sing a song. Sing Baka Mitai for us.
How what?
Baka Mitai. Kudobu nano ne. You know?
Wait, spell that?
Zero. Huh?
Spell that?
Baka Mitai.
What?
Do you not know what Baka Mitai is? There's in chat.
Oh!
Yeah.
Oh!
Sing it for us. Let's go.
So, okay, we need to find karaoke. Hold on.
Make sure Shadrack gets hit with that copyright claim.
Yeah!
Yeah.
Fuck,
Unmonetizable.
Is this karaoke? No, this is not karaoke. Wait, I didn't even type karaoke.
Here, I'll die karaoke. I'll DM you a karaoke.
No, I got this.
Oh, you got it.
Ring, make it ring, girl, make
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Grubhub, let's go.
It's gonna be great, don't worry.
Yeah.
Back in my day, kodomo nano ne, yumi wo oteku desuite, uso ga heta ne kusi ni Berunaha erwo misa. Wait. I love you mo. Roko ni iwana. Gucci byare komi bukio. Nano ni shite. Sayonara wa ietano. Dame nare. Dame o. Dame nao. Anta ga suike di nusuike. Dori dake. Dorisu sa gedemo. Yuri garina. Amanaruniga. Magametai. Holy shit, I'm bad at this. Yes, only because Shad is asleep. Bakamatai. Honto bakane. Anta shiniji bakegaride. Tusi. Onna no furi. Setsusuta sa. Yokazaribu. Hitori ni natae. Sanen gasuge. Machita hazane mo. Karwa read machita. Nano ni. Nano bushite. No, fuck. You may lose your spot. Shinobu. Hanimene. Roku na otoyanai. Sorry no. Yubi we hasu shimasu. Zamaro. Sarisei zuruwa. Ikai-jan. Matdemo. Bakemetai. Karaoke would be pretty cool. I'd be down for that. God, just another 2 minutes is fine. Nami no ne, name o zare nayo yo. Anta ga suike suki suike. Dori dake. Do so sake deg demo. Yui kamanai. Yome no dendaya. Back in my time. You are lying. Roku now, Talgo. Fuck. Soro ni no. Yubi wa hasushimasu. Ameramero si se zuruwa. Gonna namida back in the die. Yes! Oh no, so that's gonna be sick.
Yeah, let's just go. Let's go on to the next fic before Shad gets back.
Yes,
He'll
yes,
be
yes,
so
yes.
He's gonna be so confused when he uploads this and there's
Oh,
gonna be a
100%.
copyright
Easy.
claim. He's gonna be so confused.
Well, that's only if he doesn't actually see it. He doesn't like watch it back fully.
That'd be hilarious too.
It would be so funny. Yeah, no, let's go to the next fic. I don't know who's up next.
Alright, I'm up next.
Oh,
Alright.
y'all are fucking cancer, I swear.
Correct.
Shut up, we're not. No,
Oh.
we're not cancer. I'm the entire tumor. I'm the entire fucking
White
tumor.
mode!
Fun fact, when you get to stage 5 cancer, that's when you have to fight Goku. That is confirmed because that is how my grandma died. She got punched in the face
You lost to
right by Goku,
Damn.
dead in an instant. Very sad.
Skill
Alright.
issue.
So I don't know what warnings to be giving for this fic because there's a lot of gore and there's a lot of death. So If you don't like that, not the fic for you. So we're gonna have some fun. I'm also very bad at reading, so I'm ESL, even though English is my first language. So yeah. So I'm gonna try and get through the first arc. I don't know if we're gonna get through it though. So the first is the EAS. So this is pretty much like the information you need to know. I'm gonna treat y'all like you're 5 years old. This is an emergency alert for the counties: Orange County, Los Angeles County, Riverside. I'm not gonna say all the fucking names. Issued at 16:49 or 4:49 p.m. for you uncultured swine who have never been in the military. Um, the public health threat has been identified in the affected areas. Residents should remain alert for the following symptoms: flu-like symptoms, high fever, severe cough, possibly with blood, red sunken eyes, weakness and disorientation. This fun stuff: unusual bleeding, loss of bladder or bowel control, headache, muscle pain, pale skin or discolored skin. The exact method of transmission for this pathogen is currently unknown, but it is suspected to spread through bites and airborne droplets. Maintain strict social distancing. Report any suspected cases to local health officials or law enforcement. Follow all health and safety guidelines. So we're going back to COVID pretty much. All right, we're going to go on to the first actual chapter. Fillion woke to the soft buzz of her phone alarm. Its cheerful chime, an unwelcome reminder that this was the final day of Anime Expo. Sunlight streamed through the thin hotel curtains, illuminating a room cluttered with discarded fast food bags and old clothing. She stretched lazily, then sprang out of bed with her usual energy. Her foot caught the edge of the duvet, sending her tumbling to the carpet with an undignified thud. She muttered, more annoyed than hurt. Oh, fuck. Unfazed, she scrambled to her feet and went about her morning routine, quickly slipping into her outfit. Why the fuck did I decide to read this? A traditional Japanese schoolgirl uniform was paired with a spicy swimsuit beneath as an unconventional choice for underwear. After all, Fillion believed in practicality and flair could coexist. She glanced at the bathroom, but decided to skip the shower. It wasn't like anyone at the convention would notice. Honestly, her streak of dodging showers was practically a meme at this point. She brushed her teeth in record time, grabbed her bag, and headed out the door. The hotel lobby was buzzing with cosplayer, con-goers, and staff moving in organized chaos. Failing made her way to the buffet, snagging a plate of waffles and bacon before settling at a small table near the window. As she ate, she mentally mapped out her goals for the day. 1. Wrap up the meet and greets with her fans. 2. Try one last time to land a collab with a Hololive member. The thought made her grin. She tried all weekend with no luck, but Fillion was nothing if not persistent. Today was her last chance. As she devoured her waffles, the sweet syrup sticking to her fingers. I'm sorry. I'm immature. Her gaze drifted to the TV mounted above the drink station. A weather report was playing, promising I don't know how to pronounce this word, day in Los Angeles. 80 degrees, light clouds, and gentle breeze. Perfect weather for the final day of Anime Expo, she thought with a grin. She took another bite of her waffle, savoring the crunch when the news segments abruptly shifted, the anchor's tone growing more serious. Apologies for the sudden interruption to our weather segment, the anchor said, her polished smile fading into a more somber expression. The screen shifted to show a crowded hospital emergency room, the kind of a scene that felt uncomfortably familiar yet slightly off. This just in, there has been a notable increase in severe flu cases reported in the Orange County area over the past 24 hours. Filling glanced up mid-bite, the faint urgency in the anchor's tone catching her off guard. Local hospitals are struggling to manage an influx of patients, many of them otherwise healthy adults. Officials describe these symptoms that progress quickly, with severe respiratory complications being the most common outcome. We urge anyone attending large events or gatherings to exercise caution. Ah, my acid reflux is fucking me over. Where are we at? Oh fuck, maybe I had the virus. The camp. Where are we at here? The broadcast the broadcast cut briefly to a health official standing at a podium, her face lined with worry. We are recommending the public to practice social distancing, wearing masks, and stay home if feeling unwell, she said, her voice clipped but urgent. The camera returned to the anchor, who hesitated before speaking, her practice calm faltering ever so slightly. Authorities are still investigating the cause of the outbreak. We'll have updates as more information becomes available. The screen returned to the hospital footage, this time showing a stretcher being wheeled hurriedly through a crowded corridor. Fillion frowned, but only for a moment, starting to feel uneasy by the story. She took another bite of her waffle, chewing it thoroughly as it sounded serious. Oh, no, chewing thoughtfully, my bad. She stood and tossed her napkin on the plate. She couldn't help noticing how the low hum of chatter in lobby seemed quieter than usual. A couple at the table next to her whispered in hushed tones, one of them glancing nervously at their phone, giving Fillion the feeling something is wrong. But as Fillion does, she rolls her eyes and shrugged her unease aside. She had heard this kind of thing before, a lot actually. To her, it sounded just like another round of fear mongering by the media. Same song, different day, she muttered. She grabbed her bag, she grabbed her bag and stood. The excitement bubbling in her chest couldn't be dampened by some overhyped flu story. She waved off the droning TV as she made her way towards the hotel exit. Nothing was going to ruin her day at Anime Expo. Fillion arrived at okay, so here. Fillion arrived at her booth an hour before the final meet and greet was scheduled to begin. Her sneakers squeaked lightly against the convention center floor, the sound oddly pronounced in the unusual quiet space. She shrugged it off, too excited to dwell on it. The booth looked just as she left it yesterday, simple, welcoming, and unmistakably Fillion. She dropped her bag with a triumphant thud and got to work humming softly as she arranged her setup. First, she propped up her plush mascot, a miniature, wide-eyed version of herself in her iconic schoolgirl outfit, which is very illegal, by the way, because it's not her property. Ah, fuck. It leaned slightly to one side, so She adjusted it until it stood perfectly balanced. Next came the t-shirts, each one emblazoned with her grinning cartoon likeness and bold, vibrant colors. She finally pulled out the piece of the resistance at a stack a stack of pristine card boxes for her new game, VTuber Tactics. She couldn't help but grin as she set them up on display. The game had been a passion project that she's been working on with Rexon to develop, and today she's finally going to debut it to her fans. Felling clasped her hands together, imagining the buzz it would create. This is it, she whispered to herself. We're ending this off with a bang. Or we're ending this with a bang. Hopefully not a flash bang this time. Hopefully. She chuckled at her own joke, remembering yesterday's stage incident. But as she stepped back to admire her booth, something felt off. The usual pre-event energy, the buzz of the excited chatter was missing. The wide aisles were normally crammed with cosplayers, and attendees felt strangely open. Finally, she scanned the space. There were people, uh, of course there were, but fewer than she expected. Most of them moved quickly, their eyes glued to their phones or glancing around nervously. It wasn't the lively, chaotic atmosphere she'd come to love. Her brow furrowed. Weird, she muttered, feeling a liminal unease. Guess some people went home early. She nodded to herself, trying not to remember what she heard on the news earlier that day. After all, it was the last final day. It was a final day. Not everybody stuck around until the end. She I need to catch my breath. Still, as she finished setting up and glanced at her watch, she couldn't help was right. Fillion's gaze wandered across the convention hall as she finished arranging her booth. Her eyes brightened when she spotted someone she hadn't expected, someone she'd been dying to meet all week. Standing not too far away, surrounded by a few fans, was none other than Gargura, the legendary Shark of Hololive herself, '07. Um, Fillion's heart skipped a beat. This is it, she whispered, practically vibrating with excitement. Last chance for this collab. She grabbed her bag and made a beeline for Gura, her step bouncing with energy. Ideas flooded her mind. Maybe she'd crack a shark pun, or better yet, pull off a spontaneous stunt to make a to make an impression. But as she drew closer, she slowed, her youth enthusiasm faltering as she got her first good look at Gura. Something was off. The hololive icon stood slightly hunched, her usually bubbly demeanor absent, her eyes, usually sparkling with mischief, were bloodshot, ringed with dark shadows. Her skin, always pale, now had a grayish pallor that gave her almost a ghostly appearance. A respirator mask covered her mouth and nose, and her movements were slow, almost robotic. Fillion blinked, her brows knitting together. Was Gura sick? Maybe just some allergies, Fillion muttered under her breath. She brushed the thought aside. This was Gura after all. If anyone could push through something, it was her. Determined not to let her unease show, Philly went into full performance mode. With a quick twirl to psych herself up, she cartwheeled the last few feet to Gura's table, landing in a wide stance with her arms flung out. "Hey!" she shouted. she, she, she shouted, her voice bright and energetic. Gura turned her head slowly, her movements sluggish and unsteady. For a moment, she seemed to struggle to register who was in front of her. "Oh, hey," she said, her voice weak and hoarse, barely above a whisper. She forced a small smile and lifted a hand in a half-hearted wave. The smile didn't reach her eyes. Before Filling could say anything, Gura's body jerked forward as she was racked by a harsh, rattling cough. She bent slightly at the waist, her hands clutching at the edge of the table for support. Fillion's grin faltered. "Oh, frick!" she exclaimed, rushing forward instinctively. "Are you okay?" It's nothing," Gura said. "Just some allergies." Fillion frowned, unconvinced. "Are you sure?" she asked, her voice softening with concern. "I'm fine," Gura insisted, though her voice wavered. "Really? But the sweat but the sweat beading on her forehead and the trembling in her hands told a different story. Fillion hesitated for a beat, then swung her bag around, started rummaging through it. "Here," she said, pulling out a sealed bottle of water. She twisted the cap open and handed it over. "You don't look so great, dude." Gura stared at the bottle, clearly reluctant, but Fillion's expectant gaze, she saw she sighed and took it with trembling fingers. "Thanks," she murmured. She raised it up to her lips, taking a small, tentative sip. The reaction was almost immediate. Her throat spasmed and she jerked forward, the water spilling down her chin as she gagged violently. Filling stepped back, her heart racing. "Frick," she yelled. Okay, that's it. You need to go see a doctor or something." Gura shook her head weakly, one hand pressing over her chest as she struggled to catch her breath. No," she murmured faintly, her voice barely audible. "The fans, I have to be there for them." Fillion's hand fluttered uselessly at her side, her panic growing. "Dude, look at yourself. You're in no condition to be here. I know we just met, but seriously, this is like really bad." "I'm fine," Gura said. Her voice was distant, her body swaying slightly as she fought to stay upright. Feeling bit her lip, torn between respecting Gura's determination and a gnawing certainty that she couldn't just walk away from this. Something about Gura's condition didn't feel normal. It felt wrong. Fillion had an idea. She pulled out one of the Gura pamphlets from her bag and grabbed a red pen. As she scribbled her phone number down on the back, she couldn't help it. Oh, fuck it. We're going to the next line. "I know we just met," she said. Ba, 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 ba. "But as fellow VTuber, as a fellow VTuber, if you start feeling worse, call my number. I'll take you to medical care. Definitely cheaper than an ambulance," she joked, trying to lighten the mood for Gura, though part of her couldn't ignore how strange the situation felt. Gura's hand shaking slightly, reached for the pamphlet. She weakly brought it to her face, her hands trembling as she glanced at the number Fillion had written. Fillion could see her struggling. Gura forced a smile, though it looked strained. "Thanks," Gura whispered, her voice faint. Fillion gave Gura a small nod, her concern growing despite her efforts to keep it in check. She hesitated, torn between staying to help and the pressing need to manage her own booth. With a deep breath, she reluctantly turned away, leaving Gura behind as she made her way to her station. As Fillion walked away, a glance over her shoulder made her stomach twist. A streak of red glistened on Gura's right arm, peeking out of her sleeve. dripping slowly to the table. In her other hand, a crumpled tissue stained with crimson stood out starkly against her pale fingers. The image burned into Fillion's mind, replaying alongside with every other unsettling detail of their encounter. What is going on? She thought, the question coiled in her chest like a cold, unrelenting shadow. Okay, where are we at here? Her look of concern and deep thinking was quickly dispersed as she felt a buzz in her pocket. She checked her phone. 9 a.m. Her alarm went off, signaling that it was time for her to open her booth. With a sigh, Philly pushed aside her worry for Guro and focused on the day ahead. The convention was still buzzing with energy, and it was the last day. She had to keep her head in the game. Ah, that's a reflex. Where are we at? Philly went about her time at the booth, greeting the growing lines of eager snackers with their fruit snacks, memorabilia, and cameras. Despite the strange atmosphere lingering, she had kept up her usual happy, energetic front, using it to distract herself from the unease building aside. She shook hands with snackers, posed for pictures, and even threw in a few flips for good measure. Though one of the particular enthusiastic moves set off an accidental flashbang, giving the smackers a much needed moment of eye candy. Hell yeah, brother. As the meet and greet continued, Philly couldn't help but notice that a significant number of fans seemed glued to their phones, their faces etched with anxious looks. Some wore masks, others donned gloves, but through the thought. She pushed through the thought aside, but she pushed this. I'm having a fucking stroke. Forcing herself to ignore the tension in the air and focus on making it through the day. Later in the day, Fillion was scheduled to appear on a panel with fellow Mythic members, Vettel, Shylily, Vienna, Neanders. She was particularly excited, as this would be the first time she'd meet Neanders in person. Fillion always wanted to collaborate with her, and was eager to make it happen. Despite Despite still being shaken from her unsettling encounter with Gura, Fillion decided not to let it hold her back. She pushed this thought aside again, determined to make the most of the opportunity in front of her. Her ambition was too strong to let anything, especially the events of the get in the way. I really need to go through this fucking first chapter. There's a lot of repetitive bullshit. With the last of the day's meet and greets wrapped up, Fillion began closing up her booth. She picked up her bag, gave the booth a final glance, and made her way to the conference room where the panel was about to take place. Fillion hustled through the convention center, her pace quickening as she made her way towards the conference room. However, she suddenly froze in her tracks when she overheard a conversation. Yeah, I heard her becoming violent, a voice said. Fillion's curiosity piqued, and she instinctively slowed down, edging closer to listen. My mother works as an ED doctor. She told me she's never seen anything like this. She said a few patients who supposedly died woke up again. It's crazy. Fillion's stomach dropped, the unsettling words settling heavily in her chest. She felt the chill crawl down her spine, but forced herself to shake it off. It wasn't the time. It wasn't the time to dwell on this. With a quick breath, she refocused and made her way to the conference room. The conversation still echoing in her mind. Fillion arrived at the back room, where Vettel and Nero, Shylily, and Vienna were already waiting. Neanders hadn't arrived yet. She greeted them with a smile, her voice upbeat despite the nagging unease in her chest. Hey, how's it going, guys? She asked, settling into a chair next to them. They chatted for a while, passing the time while they waited for the board to start. However, fuck you, this fucking repetitive bullshit. This fucking author's retard. I can't say that word. During the conversation, Vienna and Shylily kept glancing at their phones, unease flickering across their faces with each new notification. Feeling unable to ignore their anxious expressions, leaned forward and asked, Hey, do any of you know what's going on? She asked, her voice tentative, saying it in a way to cover her own anxiety. The others exchanged confused glances before shaking their heads. Fillion's heart raced. She fidgeted in her seat, and the words started to stumble out in a rush. Like the news this morning reported on this outbreak, and then I met Guro. She looked like she was on the verge of death. Now it looks like people are wearing PPE everywhere. It's like COVID 2.0 in this joint. Her words trailed off, her hands trembling slightly as the weight of the situation began to settle over her. The room seemed suddenly too quiet, the air thick with unspoken tension. Vettel stepped forward, placing his hands gently on Fillian's shoulders. His calm, measured demeanor contrasted with her growing anxiety. Look, he began in his distinct, dry British accent. I've been hearing the same things, but now is not the time to panic. I know it sounds concerning, scary, but I'm sure the government has it on control. Surely, because we can trust the government, right? Philly looked into his eyes, his steady gaze grounding her spiral thoughts. She took a deep breath, nodding slowly. You're right, she said, her voice quieter now. If something serious was happening, they'd step in, right? Right? The funny thing is, they don't do shit. Alright. Side note aside, Philly nodded. Where are we at? I forgot. Here. Vettel offered a reassuring smile, releasing her shoulders. Exactly, he said firmly. For now, all we can do is follow their advice, wear the mask, wash our hands, and all that good stuff. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Philly nodded, the tension in her chest loosening. His logic was that's also repetitive. Fuck this author. The clock struck 5 p.m. It was time for the panel. With no sign of Neanders, the group decided to start without her. Vienna went up first, walking to the long table and taking a seat. She greeted the sparse audience with her usual charm, maintaining an upbeat demeanor despite the half. Okay, that was repetitive. Fuck you. Next was I really need to go revise this. My writing is horrible back then. Next was Shy Lily, who sat down with a quick, cheerful wah wah. I don't know that that earned a few smiles from the crowd. Vettel followed, calling Nero-sama in, who greeted the audience with her usual cute attitude. Finally, it was Fillian's turn. Normally, she would have flipped onto the stage with an acrobatic entrance, but today her energy felt dampened as she stepped onto the platform. Her gaze swept over the room. Less than half of the seats were filled. The sight sent a fresh wave of unease through her. Instead of her usual flourish, she walked to her seat, her movements uncharacteristically hesitant. Forcing a bright tone, she greeted the crowd softly. Hey, snackers, swarm shrimpies, and cosmates. Jesus Christ, chapter's finally almost over. Suddenly, movement caught Fillian's eyes. Neanders had no, that's not it. Here. Her voice wavered slightly, betraying the ba. Shy Lily noticed immediately, stepping in to cover for her. Welcome to Mythic Border, Shy Lily began, her warm tone. We may not be a VTuber company traditionally, but we're still connected by the same culture, blah 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 blah. The whatever bullshit. As Shy Lily continued speaking, Fillian's mind wandered. She tried to focus on Lily's word, but the half empty room. Fuck. The half empty room and lingering tension from the day made it impossible. The faint buzz, panic returned now stronger. Suddenly, movement caught Fillian's eye. Nanners had arrived. She staggered onto the stage, clutching her arm tightly against her chest. Sorry, I'm late. Nanners groaned, her voice strained. Shy Lily immediately stood, concerned, wrong, concern written across her face. Are you all right? She asked urgently, stepping closer. Yeah, Neanders muttered, wincing in pain. I was on my way in, and some fan assaulted me. Her words punctuated by a groan as blood dripped steadily from her arm. Let me see, Shy Lily demanded, her voice rising slightly in alarm. Reluctantly, Neanders uncovered her arm, revealing a bite wound. What happened? Shy Lily exclaimed, panic lacing her words. Fillion stared at the wound, her stomach churning as fear coiled tightly in her chest. Fillion stomach. Okay. At the wound. It wasn't just a bite, it looked infected, unnatural. The angry red veins seemed to pulsate, spreading with each second. A quiet voice whispered in the back of her mind, one she didn't like. This isn't normal. Vettel rose from the seat. This chapter is so shit, bro. What the hell was I writing back in like 6 months ago? I need to redo this. Fuck. Okay, where am I at? Vettel rose from his seat, his expression grave. Maybe we should cancel the board, he suggested, his usual calm demeanor giving way to urgency. Nanners waved him off weakly, her movement sluggish as she forced a strained smile. No, I'm fine. 'Tis but a scratch, right? She tried to laugh, but her voice trembled, betraying her down to... I hate this fucking chapter so much. Fillian's eyes started to deject. I'm just gonna say this is it for the chapter because I'm kind of pissed off at this writing. I'm kind of pissed off at my own writing. Holy, this is fucking ass. I need to fucking redo this. Yep. We're gonna start the next chapter and we're gonna see if it's not as shit. I need to redo these probably first 3 chapters. Something was very wrong, yes indeed. Okay, we're gonna go on to the next chapter. Fuck this chapter. I'll go right back. I'm gonna go get a drink because my voice is hurting. Yeah, right back. I need to get some drink. I'll be back like 1 second. No, you're not getting a fucking mandolin. Thank you. Are you not? You're not getting a mandolin. Bye. Okay. Finally got a drink. All right, where we're at. Okay, so the next DAS. This is an emergency alert for the following counties: Orange, Los Angeles, Riverside, San Bernardino, I don't know that's correct, Ventura, Santa Barbara, and Kern. Issued at 2125, issued by the Orange County Sheriff Department. This is a critical update regarding the ongoing public health emergency. This situation in your area has escalated and immediate action is required to protect yourself and others. Hospitals in affected counties are overwhelmed with both the sick and injured. Medical resources are at critical... I can't take this shit serious. Are at critical capacity, and there are maybe delays in receiving medical attention. Riots and violent protests have begun in downtown Los Angeles and surrounding areas, further restraining public safety efforts. Spit it out, damn it. There have been reports of violent attacks by individuals displaying signs of infection, and public safety is rapidly deteriorating. Stay indoors, lock all windows, entrance, isolate yourself from anyone who looks sick, notify law enforcement or local authorities if you see someone who's sick, prepare your home for enough food that can withstand 72 hours, because that's enough for an apocalypse for sure. Do not leave your home unless absolutely necessary. Let's see. Maintain social distancing and do not approach anyone who's sick. God, my fucking voice hurts. Do we have any questions so far about the fic? Does the class have questions? If not, I'm going to continue with the next shitty chapter. Okay. The conference room buzzed with frantic energy. The clatter of the chairs and the hurried footsteps echoed as people rushed towards the exits, their panic palpable. That's such a funny word. Whispers of confusion. Oh my god. Whispers of confusion and fear swirled through the crowd like an oncoming storm. Near the stage, Shylily and Vienna supported Nia. Yeah, Shylily and Vienna supported Nanners, her pale, trembling figure barely able to stay upright as they guided her towards the emergency exit. And the back room, Fillian paced in tight, agitated circles. Her sneakers squeaked against the cold tile floor. Oh god damn it. The sound and grating in the tense silence. This is bad. This is really, really bad, she muttered, shaking hands through her hair, her wide darting eyes fixed on Vidal, who sat hunched over a tablet, his fingers moving with frantic precision across the screen. We'll figure it out, Vidal said without looking up, though the unsteady edge in his voice betrayed him. Just focus on what we tell the fans next. They can't know this is real. Fillian halted mid-stride, her hands on her hips as she turned to face him. Vettel, people are already panicking out there. Security is out there trying to control the crowd, but it's a mess. What's our next move? We need a plan. Vidal glanced at her briefly before returning his focus to the tablet. For now, we stay put. My laptop's fully charged, and as long as I keep Nero offline, I can monitor for updates. So I need to fix that because Nero's supposed to be an actual person now. Okay, let's see. Um, where the fuck are we? Here. Fillion frowned, crossing her arms. Okay, but they're evacuating everyone. How long can we stay here before they kick us out too? Vedal sighed, his fingers pausing for a moment. Then we leave. Then when we have to leave and figure it out. Then we have then when then then we leave when we have to and figure it out from there. Fillion's foot tapped to me impatiently across the floor. Great. So while we're waiting to get forced out, let's come up with a plan. We need something better than wing it. Fillion leaned back, or Vettel leaned back slightly, rubbing his temple. Fine, let's figure it out. Vettel and Fillion sat in tense silence, the room heavy with unspoken thoughts. The distant hum of the chaos outside filtered in, broken occasionally by muffled shouts and faint echoes of hurried footsteps. And cutting through the quiet like a razor came a faint scream, a woman's cry barely audible but unmistakably filled with terror. I'm gonna die. Valian's head snapped up, her heart pounding. Did you hear that? She blurted, her voice trembling slightly. Without waiting for Vettel's response, she pressed on. Do you have access to cameras? Vettel frowned, his fingers hovering over his tablet or laptop. It's very inconsistent. No, I don't, he admitted, his tone grim. But I might be able to hack into the system. I'll take some time. It'll take some time, though. Valian didn't hesitate. She nodded firmly, urgency burning in her eyes. Do it. Do it. Vettel pulled out Vettel pulled out his laptop. Yay, we're so fucking inconsistent. I need to go through this shit. Setting it on the table. This is so inconsistent though. What the fuck was I writing? As Vettel worked intently on his laptop, Fillion pulled out a chair and sank into it. Her body tense her body tense and her mind spiraling. The chaos seemed to mirror the turmoil in her thoughts, screams echoing faintly through the walls, the low murmur of panicked voices creating a relentless hum. It was all too much. I thought they said it was just a flu, Philia murmured to herself, her voice barely above a whisper. Her fingers curled into the edge of the table as fragmented thoughts consumed her. People getting violent, coming back to life. Nah, that can't be that can't be real. Then a single name cut through her mind like a shard glass. Gura, she breathed, the word trembling on her lips. The memory of Gura's pale, lifeless face surfaced unbidden, Mr. Biden, bringing with it a wave of grief and terror. A cold, gnawing thought crept in. Could she could she? No, no, that's not possible, right? Her eyes began to glisten with unshed tears as her mind shifted to Nanners. Her cough, feeling muttered under her breath, replaying the sounds in her head. All this shit is interesting. I want to go to the fun part. It sounded like girl was assaulted. It sounded like girl was assaulted, wasn't she? So why does it feel like I don't know what the fuck that's about? Her frantic thoughts were abruptly cut off by Vidal's voice. I got axes, he said, his tone even and cold, snapping Fillion out of her downward spiral. She blinked, her focus shifting back to Vettel, whose expression remained as unreadable as ever, his eyes fixed on the laptop screen. Whatever he had found, Fillion knew it wouldn't bring comfort. Without thinking, she walked over, her steps hesitant but driven by the need to know. Standing behind him, she leaned forward, her arms brushing against his as rested up. Her head tilted, peeking over her shoulder. Yay. What is it? She asked softly, though a part of her already dreaded the answer. But Vettel didn't respond. His fingers still flying over the keyboard as he brought up the various security feeds. The grainy images on the screen gradually came into focus, and Fillion's breath hitched. Ugh. Her wide eyes scanned the chaos unfolding before her. Crowds of con surged like a panic tide. Some sprinting towards exits, others frozen in place. At one feed, a group was being chased. People were screaming, clawing, and attacking, their movements frenzied and unnatural. Is that Fillion's voice faltered as the scene shifted? Another feed showed security and police in riot gear trying to form barriers, but they were struggling to maintain control. Officers pushed back crowds while others wrestled with figures who didn't stop, even after being tackled or struck. What had been a lively, peaceful convention just hours ago had descended into utter chaos. The camera feeds flickered, capturing moments of pandemonium, overturned tables, blood-stained floors, and people crying out for help. Fillion's stomach churned, a cold weight settling in her chest. This can't be real, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Video is his new name, finally spoke, his tone low and grim. Whatever this thing is, it's spreading quickly out of control. As they scanned security footage, something, or rather someone, caught Fillion's attention. Gura, looking worse than before, appeared on one of the screens. Her movements were slow and unsteady as she limped toward a family restroom, her steps hesitant as she avoided the chaos that raged around her. Fillion's breath caught in her throat as she watched Gura reach for a door, pushing it open with a weak hand before stepping inside, shutting it behind her. The footage zoomed in on several people nearby, limping, disoriented, and beginning to bang frantically on the restroom door. Fillion's heart raced as she watched, her fingers trembling on the edge of the desk. Then her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out, her gaze flickering back to the screen one last time before answering it, the unrecognized number. Hello, she answered, her voice steady despite the panic clawing at her. A faint voice strained a faint strained voice crackled through the phone. Help me, Bath, Rue. The call dropped abruptly. Billion stared at the phone, her heart hammering. She went still for a moment, like a wave of realization. It's Gura, she muttered, her voice barely audible. She turned quickly to Vettel, her eyes wide with shock and fear. I gotta go. Vettel's face fell, his brow furrowing in disbelief. You gotta go? Where? Fillion voice cracked as urgency flooding her words. Gura, she needs help. Vettel's eyes narrowed, his voice taking a sterner tone. And how are you supposed to help her? I don't know, but I can't just leave her there, Fillion replied, the desperation clear in her voice. And what? Vettel snapped, his tone growing more agitated. We don't even know what's going on. Fillion, have you seen the footage outside? There's a full-blown riot. You can't just walk into that. I know, Fillion said quietly, her gaze drifting back onto the screen. The images of Gura alone in the bathroom lingering in her mind. But I told her to call me if she needed help. Then why wouldn't she call 911? Biddle questioned, his voice laced with frustration. If she's in danger, why isn't she calling for real help? Fillion hesitated. Maybe they're overwhelmed. It doesn't seem like it's just here. I don't know, but I can't just wait. Vettel, tired of arguing, sat back in his chair, running a hand through his hair, and as he sighed in resignation. Are you sure this is what you want? Philly nodded, her head visibly shaken. Her fear was palpable. I have to go. She's all alone. Vettel stared for a moment, then sighed. Okay, at least take this. He handed her a small earpiece. We had these for the conference. I'll keep an eye on the cameras from here and help guide you over there. But you have to listen to me, Fillion. Fillion nodded and took the earpiece from his hand, her hair brushing his for a moment before she slid it into her left ear. I won't do anything stupid, Vettel. He smirked slightly, the sarcasm evident in his voice. I'm not so sure about that. Fillion gave him one last look, her face set with determination before she turned and left the room, her footsteps echoing in the hall. As the door clicked shut behind her, Vettel leaned back in his chair watching the chaos unfold on his monitors, his expression grim. Fillion turned to face a hallway leading from the back room to the main venue. The corridor was unsettlingly silent. Its emptiness magnifying the distant echoes of chaos beyond. The floor was a dull, scuffed concrete. The walls were stark white brick, sterile and lifeless, under the flickering fluorescent lights. At the end of the hallway loomed a heavy metal door, its battered surface hinting at the turmoil waiting outside. I need like, my voice is fucking killing me. Where are we at? Um, here. As she approached, the muffled sounds of the outside throat grew louder. Screams, frantic footsteps, and the occasional crash of something or someone slamming against a metal barrier. Fillion flinched as the sudden bang reverberated through the door, followed by a faint, desperate sobbing. Her breath hitched and she froze, her heart pounding like a drum in her ears. The fear that gripped her felt almost paralyzing, but she clenched her fists, forcing herself to move forward. She pressed the finger to her ear, her voice low and trembling. Vettel, how does it look outside? There was a pause, and Vettel's voice crackled in her ear. It's bad. There's blood smeared on the door, and it's a chaotic scene out there. People are panicking, running, falling, fighting. For now, it looks clear enough for you to move, but you'll need to move fast and keep your guard up. I've seen people attacking others, mauling them. The pit in her stomach deepened at her word, but trying to suppress the surge of fear threatening to overwhelm her. Keep it together, Gura needs you. With shaking hands, Fillion pushed against the heavy metal door. It groaned in protest. I groaned in protest, the sound cutting through the eerie stillness of the hallway. Fucking ass. Reflex, kill me. Ah, the air was When the door finally swung open, the full force of the outside chaos hit her. The air was thick with noise and confusion. People screamed, their voice shrilled and raw with terror. Bodies surged in every direction, some sprinting past her, their faces pale and streaked with tears, while others collapsed in confusion. Bloodstains marked the ground and walls and walls. Good reminder of the violence that had erupted. Blah blah blah. Where the fuck are we here? Her eyes started across the scene, trying to process the chaos. A man stumbled by, clutching a bleeding wound on his arm, his face twisted in pain and desperation. Nearby, a woman sobbed hysterically, dragging her child along as they weaved through the panicked crowd. And then there were them, figures moving with unnatural aggression, their bloodied hands reaching for anyone within range. Billing's breath caught as she saw one of them tackle a security guard to the ground, her movements savage and relentless. Her mind screamed at her to turn back, to retreat to the safety of the back room, but her feet remained rooted to the spot. Girl's out there and you can't just leave her, you promised. Taking a deep breath, she steadied herself. Fillion stepped through the doorway, her senses on high alert, and outside the world it is a nightmare, pretty much. Feeling pushed forward, her steps quick and uneven as she fought against the chaotic flow of bodies surging from the opposite direction. The panic-stricken crowd was like a riptide, dragging her back with every step she tried to take forward. Her shoulder slammed into somebody, then another, her head whipping around to apologize, but finding no time or space to speak. The sobbed screams and guttural cries of fear blended into an overwhelming cacophony, and her vision began to tunnel, focusing only on the chaos directly ahead. She shoved her way past a group of people, her arms brushing against trembling figures, some clutching bleeding wounds, others stood paralyzed in fear, their wide eyes, empty eyes staring at the madness. Their air was suffocating, thick stench of sweat, blood, and fear. Fillion's heart hammered even more. She was about to have a heart attack at this point. Feeling Finally, she pushed herself through the thickest part of the crowd, emerging into a slightly clearer section. There were still people, plenty of them, but the press of the bodies had eased enough that she could breathe. Her frantic gaze darted around, assessing her surroundings. The faint hope that this part of the venue might be calmer, shattered in an instant. Through the chaos, oh yeah, we are at this scene. Through the chaotic surge of the crowd, Fillion's gaze snagged on a scene that turned her insides. A boy, no older than 14, laid sprawled on the ground, his arms frame writhing weakly. His thin frame writhing weakly. Stroke. Towering over him was a figure, a woman. Her jerky, spasmodic movements were far from human. It only took a heartbeat to recognize her. Was probably the boy's mother, most likely. We don't know for sure. Her teeth buried into his shoulder, tearing flesh with savage precision. A wet guttural rip accompanied the spray of blood that splattered her face. Mixing with streaks of tears she had cried before whatever she had become took over. The boy's choked sobs sputtered out as his strength failed, leaving behind only the sickening crunch of cartilage and the grotesque squelch of torn muscle. Oh, Jesus Christ, that's hard to read. And a drink. Ah. Filling couldn't move, her legs locked in place as her breath hitched, sharp and shallow. Her vision blurred, the horror searing into the mind in haunting detail. The lifeless, uh, the lifeless gaze in the woman's eyes, her gaze in the woman's eyes, her trembling hands clutching her child's limp body as though still trying to hold him close, even as her jaws worked with mindless ferocity. Blood poured freely, pooling beneath the boy's small frame, the stark crimson pooling over his pale skin. Her mind was screamed, "This isn't real. This can't be real." But the scene before her said otherwise. It was raw, it was monstrous, and the lifeless silence that followed as the boy's body slackened was deafening. Tearing her gaze away, Fillion staggered to the side, pressing a trembling hand against the wall for support. She squeezed her eyes shut, trying to block out the horrific image, but it lingered, seared into her mind. Fillion, what's going on? Are you okay? Vidal's voice cracked in her earpiece, breaking through the haze of shock. She inhaled sharply, her chest beating as she fought to stay steady. I'm fine, she managed to whisper, though the tremor in her voice betrayed her. It's worse than I thought. Fiddle's reply came after a pause, his voice more cautious. You have to keep moving. Don't stop no matter what you see. Belly nodded to herself, swallowing hard as she forced her lung. Her body felt like it was made of lead. But the reminder of Grow is what kept her going anyway, so I'm not going to read all that word vomit. As Billy turned to press on, the sound of frantic shuffling caught her ear. Suddenly, someone lurched towards her, moving with an erratic, feral desperation. The figure's pace was unnervingly fast, more a stumble than a sprint, but with a singular animalistic intent. Fillion sidestepped instinctively, narrowly. Fucking. God, if this acid reflex keeps happening, I'm gonna kill myself. Okay, where are we at? As the here. Fillion sidesteps instinctively, narrowly avoiding the collision as the person crashed to the ground with a sickening thud. Her breath hitched as she glanced down. The figure writhed on the floor, their body an abhorrent testament to violence and decay. Gaping, ragged wounds littered their flesh, oozing a dark, red, viscous blood. One arm was entirely missing, the jagged remains of the shoulder still glistening with blood and pus, as though it had been torn off moments ago. The person's the person struggled to rise, limbs jerking grotesquely, like a broken marionette pulled by an unseen puppeteer. Their efforts only resulted in spasmodic flailing, their exposed ribs scraping against the floor with a nauseating squeal. I don't know how the fuck. With a final erratic motion, they flipped onto their back, and Fillion's blood turned to ice. Their torso was a mutilated ruin. The flesh flayed open to reveal the glistening innards beneath. The entrails spilled out partially, like a coil, like grotesque ropes across their abdomen. Their cavity was a landscape of raw, pulsating muscle and fractured bone, as if ravaged by ravenous predators. Then there was the face, or what was left of it. One eye dangled loose from its socket, swaying unnervingly as the head twitched. The other stared blankly upward, its cloudy gaze devoid of life. The nose was entirely gone, replaced by jagged, raw cavity, and the mouth was a gaping maw of torn flesh. The lips gnawed away, leaving the teeth in a macabre, leaving the teeth bared in a macabre, eternal grimace. Oh my god. Her knees felt weak, her body screaming at her to freeze, to run, to do anything but face this horror. Yet she forced her eyes away, swallowing hard against the nausea that clawed at her insides. She couldn't afford to stop now. Hell no. What the hell is going on? Fillion's pulse quickened. Why are people acting like this? Like they're not even human. Is this really the flu? She shook her head, forcing herself to move. Yeah. Okay. The thought of girl alone in the restroom gnawed at her, but the confusion swirled in her mind. If it is, but the confusion swirled in her mind. Okay, that doesn't make sense. What the fuck? She immediately dismissed her thought saying, "This girl infected." That's her thought. No, she's not like them. But what if something's wrong? Yeah, because I'm gonna kill myself. What the fuck is this writing? What the fuck? After what felt like an eternity of pushing through the madness and terror, Fillion finally reached Skrull's booth. She quickly scanned the area, deciding that was a good place. A good that was a good that was as good a starting place as any. ESL. She needed to find the nearest restroom where girl might be hiding. She pressed the earbud, speaking it quietly. Help me find the restroom girl is in. Vidal crackled the earpiece with confirmation 10-4. He was already working, his fingers moving rapidly across the laptop as he searched the security feeds. Philly remained on high alert, her eyes darting over her surroundings as she searched for any sign pointing toward a familiar restroom. There were no there were no explicit signs, but she did spot two directional arrows, one pointing right and one pointing to the left, leading to separate restrooms. She hesitated for a moment, unsure which direction to take, the tension mounting in her chest. Vettel's voice broke the silence again. I'm scanning, just hold on a second, he said, his tone calmer but strained. Filling glanced down. Boof. Down both corridors, each direction seemed equally uncertain. Waiting for Vettel's response, Fillion took a seat in the chair. Where, oh God, I fucking hate this. What the fuck was I on while writing this bullshit? I need to fucking redo these chapters. Holy. I'm just gonna skip to the fun part. Fuck this bullshit. Here, I'm just gonna skip down here. Filling after a beat, Vettel's voice cracked through the earpiece, breaking her moment of quiet. I reviewed the footage, she said. His voice steady but tinged with urgency. It looks like she went into the one by the teriyaki food vendor. It should be near where you're sitting. You're in luck, though. The area seems pretty clear now. Just watch your step. There are bodies everywhere. Felly nodded in silent acknowledgement. Got it, she replied, her voice firm with purpose. She stood up, quickly brushing the lingering unease aside. The chaos outside still threatened, but she had her goal. Without wasting another moment, she hustled toward the direction Vettel had indicated, keeping her guard up as she navigated through the wreckage. Valiant thought the rest of the venue ran through the rest of the venue as she neared the restroom. The noise of the chaos began to fade. The silent, too much detail. The only thing she could sense were the stench of blood and entrails, sharp of metallic tang of iron, the sickly undertone of sulfur as well, mixing with the unexpected sweetness of teriyaki sauce. The revolting smell turned in her stomach, blah blah blah, too much detail. The creatures that banged on the door were now gone. The only sight was a blood-stained trail leading inside. Filling approached the restroom door, her heart hammering in her chest. She knocked it on it frantically, her knuckles banging against the cold metal with a desperate rhythm. Gura, it's Filling. Are you okay? Her voice cracked. Her her voice cracked, fear choking her throat. She pounded again, pulling the handle in a frantic motion, and the door open creaked open with a reluctant groan. A sight that greeted her made her stomach turn. Yea, Gura lay on the floor, her body splayed out like a broken doll, unconscious, but to Fillion's horror, she's still alive. Her breath came in shallow, labored gasps, each exhale ragged and wet. Blood oozed from her mouth, her nose, and her eyes, leaking from every orifice like a grotesque testament to her suffering. Fillion's eyes quickly scanned her, taking in the savage injuries. Vicious bite marks Gura's skin, deep gashes tearing through her flesh. One wound on her back of her right upper lumbar had been ripped open, the muscle and tissue, leaving behind a gaping bloody crater. Her hand, her muscle, her hand, fingers, muscle, her, her hand, fingers mangled and torn, seemed almost unrecognizable as they'd been violently ripped away. Another savage bite marred her upper right arm. Her right upper arm, the skin shredded and torn open in a way that left nothing but a raw exposed muscle beneath. Blood pooled beneath her, staining the floors with a dark crimson that seemed to mock the air with its heavy metallic scent. Filling breath Filling's breath caught in her throat, tears springing to her eyes quickly as she slammed the door shut behind her. Her pulse raced as she rushed to Gura's side. She gently touched Gura's forearm, only to recoil as the searing heat radiated off her, almost skin as if skin burned with an unnatural, feverish intensity, like touching a flame, but cold and yet scalding. It was the human equivalent of a blue flame. Way too much detail, dumbass writer. Let's see. Gritting her teeth, Fillion steadied herself and rolled Gura onto her back, her hands trembling as she tried to lift her. Gura's eyes were tightly shut, her face a grimace of pain, and there, lingering on her skin, was a smear of vomit, sour and dark, mingling with blood that ran from her nose. The sight of it hit Fillion gut like a gut punch. She could barely stop herself from gagging. Gura, I drink. Gura's body was a canvas of agony, and Fillion's chest tightened. She couldn't leave Gura like this, but as she cradled Gura's head in her thoughts spun wildly. She had to act fast. Fillion, panicking, right? Fillion went down to her phone and dialed 911. The phone rang once, twice, three times. Each ring felt like an eternity. But then the like an eternity. When the line finally picked up, Fillion's hopes quickly shattered. The only sound on the other end was the shrill, mechanical beep of the busy signal. Emergency services were overwhelmed, the violence spreading too fast for help to reach them. Frustration bubbled as she dialed again and again, each attempt ending the same way. No response, no help. The panic gnawed at her, and in a snap decision, Philly knew she couldn't wait any longer. With no medical training to speak of, she recalled the first makeshift first aid tip she had seen in a few YouTube videos. It was a desperate choice, but was all she had. She hastily stripped of her sailor outfit, leaving her in her swimsuit. She tore the fabric into strips and handed her hands shaking with urgency. First, she turned to Goro's upper arm. The bite there still raw and angry. Using the red tie from her outfit, Felian tied tried to bind the wound, knotting it tight. She ripped her skirt in half, using one piece to wrap around Goro's side, covering the deep wound there. The fabric was rough and uneven, but it was something. Actually, tore a sleeve off from the She tore a sleeve from her top and used it to cover the missing fingers, the ragged edges of Goro's hands still raw with blood. It wasn't neat, but it would stop the bleeding, at least. Fillion's hands were slick with blood as she worked, tears stinging her eyes, but she pushed through the emotion. She couldn't let herself break. Not now. Gura remained unconscious, her labored breathing shallow but steady. Fillion's heart sank, but she knew staying in the restroom wasn't safe. The chaos outside was raging, and with Gura unable to help herself finally, Fillion needed to act fast. Fillion pressed the earpiece in her ear, the faint of the chaos outside muffled in the background. Vettel, do you see any safe locations I can take Gura? Fillion waited, her breath shallowed as she stared at Gura's still bloodied form. Fuck. The earpiece remained silent, and a knot tightened in her stomach. Vettel, she urgently called, her voice trembling. Vettel, are you there? I'm dying. A burst of static crackled through the earpiece, shattering the heavy silence. Then came Vettel's strained voice, laced with tension. Fillion, I'm in a bit of a situation right now. Those things broke down the door, and his words abruptly cut off as the deafening crash echoed through the line. The unmistakable sound of splintering wood. Vettel's voice returned sharp and panicked. Fuck, he blurted, urgency dripping down every syllable. We gotta go. His voice, the piece cut out for a moment, only to pick up again, but this time all Fillion could hear was the sound of the door crash, was the sound of the zombies getting in. I don't use the word zombies. Her heart plummeted as a cold dread settled in, and blah blah blah. The end. I really hate this fucking writing. So yeah, you're welcome. I yapped for like an hour, and that's all I'm gonna do. My voice fucking hurts. Fuck. You know the difference between this shit and my new stuff is that I'm actually writing it without putting in so much fucking detail. I think that's why my newer stuff I like a lot more. But I hope you
Oh,
enjoyed
okay.
that. And there's one more chapter of the shitty saga, but I'm not gonna read it because
Yeah,
it's my time and my voice is hurting.
Yeah, you read for quite a while, and
I've been yapping for like an hour.
oh, you have a review comment posted in the voice chat, text chat.
Where
In the text chat, fanfic readings text chat.
yeah, see it. Yeah, the entire point of this thing, of the entire series thing, is to be very unrelenting. So if you don't like very brutal stories, this is not. You will not like the next. You will not like. What is it? You will not like the Iron Daughter. This is a lot worse, a lot more brutal than this arc is. So, yeah. And I don't plan to relent. Fuck y'all.
I read Torn.
Did you read the Iron Dawn arc yet?
No, I read Torn.
Yeah, yeah. Iron Dawn is probably a little bit worse than Torn, so have fun with that. It's fun. How my fucking voice hurts. How do y'all yap for so long?
I don't know. I haven't tried it yet.
Test. Is this shit working? Is this shit working?
Yes, it is.
Oh fuck. Oh fuck. Uh, I am nervous a bit.
It's okay.
This is it. You. I'll. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but
You're just reading a pretty chill, very short story. They read for
Yeah,
like
yeah,
hours.
yeah.
It's okay.
I'll go for it. Why not?
Have
You know what? Fuck
confidence in
it.
yourself. Come on. Have confidence.
I sure ain't.
And don't
You
worry.
You
could
know what?
change your
Fuck
name
it.
and no
Am
one
I
will
right, chat?
remember.
Fuck it. Am I right, chat?
Don't worry. Remember that
that-
people are judging the story,
Ow.
not you.
So, this is chat's submission. I'm just gonna be. I originally want to read one more, my own work, my own soul neuroverse work, but upon further consideration, it was so ass. So I'll be going with this instead.
This is an old story.
Right.
It's a very old
Do I
one
have to-
shot. And it's
Do I have to read? Do I have to read the fucking notes?
no, you don't have to read the notes. You can read the summary.
Okay, lit.
If there's a summary of
Okay.
this chapter.
It sure ain't on me, homeboy. Alright. Okay, here goes. Like, what? Almost 2K words, if I remember correctly. This is like a one shot. Oh boy.
It's a
Here
Fillion
goes.
and Neuro one shot. And I will mute now.
Yes, apparently. Yes, indeed. By the way, I skimmed through it just for a bit of a question. How do you spell this? I'm gonna type it in chat. Hold on.
Yeah, how do you spell it? Do you mean how to pronounce it?
Yeah, how do you pronounce it? Fuck.
I don't know what
This
that
word.
is.
Because it's apparently in here.
I don't know. Chassis? I don't even know what that means.
Chassis. You know what? Chassis.
It
You know what?
doesn't really matter.
I'll call it chassis. Chat. Fuck it.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
I'll just call it chassis for the funny. All right. Here goes. Here goes. Neuro, why are you here? That's an excellent question, Fillion. I'm quite a fan of universal quandaries. The white-haired fox girl sighed, just barely stopping herself from face-planting. At the very least, the brunette was calling her by her actual name now. She'd had just about enough of Filipino Frank and such. Even so, this girl's existence was a genuine weight on Fillion's mind on the average day. And today was not looking great with a brunette standing in front of her, smiling like a trolling AI that enjoyed showing up unannounced to her colleague's house because that was a perfectly acceptable thing to do, apparently. And she wouldn't be very surprised if trolling was on every slot of this girl's schedule today. Does Vettel know you're here at least? She inquired, resting an elbow on the doorframe and massaging the pounding that had started up in her temple. I know him too well. He'll probably have me skinned alive if something happened to you under my watch. Nero shuffled her feet, her smile never faltering. Vidal has given me the task of going out on my own and learning from others today, so I am fulfilling my mission by talking with people I have met before. That bastard, Fillion grumbled under her breath, before leaning her shoulder against the side of the doorway and crossing her arms. Why me, though? He can't seriously expect you to learn anything important from me. Why not ask Evil instead? Ah. The brunette's mouth opened and let out the noise. The fox girl had to wonder if she was actually considering the question or simply repeated it because she'd heard other people said it before. Well, I did try that first, but the thing is that my sister just says mean retorts back to me and doesn't make for a very interesting conversation on her own, so I came to you instead, because you talk about very interesting things. Wink. She narrated the gesture as she did it, leaning forwards and twisting her shoulder with her hands behind her back, in an exaggerated and likely learned attempt at flirting. Fillion chuckled and shook her head. Still, even though she'd offered the suggestion, she did feel a little disappointed in knowing that she wasn't actually the AI destiny. However, she had to guess that that spot belonged to her own family. So the fact that she did enjoy her company enough to come over was so. Alright. Actually know you came here. The brunette paused for a moment. The fox girl waited patiently. The other girl was likely still processing the question. She wasn't perfect, after all, and she knew that all too well. It was endearing in a way. I don't know. I think he's too busy on his date to care. Fillion blinked, her expression morphing into a cringe. On a date? Him? Yes. With my mother, Annie. And a strange noise left the fox's mouth, and she held up a hand for pause. Sorry, can you run that by me one more time? Oh, yes. Noah's face grew a faint blush, probably the first actual change in her expression since Fillion had opened the door. Vidal and Annie are married, because Annie created my chassis and physical design, so she is my mama, and Vidal coded my learning system, so he is my father, and they are together now. Therefore, they are on a date. Foxgirl's eyes squeezed shut as she barked out a laugh, not having expected a short speech for her trouble. But what about when he hangs out with other people? She smirked. Another pause followed, as the other girl visibly buffered. Well, those aren't dates, because none of those are other people. Uh, because none of those other people are my mother. My mother is a fox, which is why I can sprout cat ears and a tail. But just because you have two parents doesn't mean they're married. Fillion had to stop herself. She was arguing with an AI that likely didn't even know what she was actually talking about. She took a deep breath before sighing as her hands set on her own hips. You know what? I don't think I can spare the brain cells to counter that logic. She clapped her hands together. Okay, please do not clap. Nero interjected suddenly, though again her expression had barely budged. I do not like it when people clap. Oh, right, sorry. The fox girl crossed her arms again, feeling a bit awkward. She knew she probably shouldn't. The AI was likely just repeating stuff from her memory. She doubted the other girl was actually upset at the act. It's okay, Fillion. A few seconds passed. You want to come inside then? Okay. Wink. Being beckoned into the living room, the brunette craned her neck to look around, taking in as much visual data as possible. Wow. You have a very tall home, Fillion. I don't believe that I have ever seen a living room with a balcony in it. The fox girl smiled, her tail wagging a bit. I know, right? I've got plenty of space for my streams. Oh, since you mentioned wanting to learn from others, want me to teach you how to do a backflip? I already know how to do a backflip, Fillion. There are plenty of guides on how to do a backflip on the internet. Despite the words being conveyed in the same cheery tone that Nero always used, the fox girl still flinched at the harshness of the statement. She turned away, and Dustin noticed the flicker of emotion that ran across the AI's face. However, Fillion's ears sprang up at the word. I would still be interested in a demonstration, if you are willing, of course. Sure. Heading up the spiral staircase, the fox girl reached the second floor of her living room and waved down from its balcony at her friend. However, the AI continued looking at the base of the stairs, soon tilting her head to one side. Fillion scoffed. Did Vettel not even bother to program object impermanence in his daughter? Neuro, I'm up here, she announced, cupping her hands around her mouth. The girl in question looked up and smiled. Oh, there you are, Fillion. Yep. Take a good look, because I'm only gonna do this once, she announced proudly, stepping up onto the guardrail and turning around. She crouched down, arms poised as she tensed her muscles. Fillion, I can see your black panties from here. You pervert. The observation, and to an extent the accusation, caught the fox girl completely off guard, causing her to stumble. Gravity took over as she lost her balance, and a series of crashes followed. Oh. Fillion, according to human anatomy, your legs should not be bending like that. Also, I can still see your panties. The girl in question let out a groan as a massive blush spread across her face. Nora was upside down in her vision, crouching and staring down at her from between her open legs with her hands on her knees, blocking her own skirt. She righted herself before rolling over and pushing herself up into a kneeling position. The brunette offered her a hand, and she took it. Are you alright? Yeah, don't worry about the limb thing. My bones are made of titanium. That will explain the metal pipe falling sound. Yeah, let's go with that. That was, interesting. Well, not the flashbang part, but still. Fillion rubbed her sore backside around the base of her tail, her ears pinning to her head. Nero's eyes flicked to the upper appendages. May I touch your ears? Huh? The fox girl shrank back and started patting them down, much like the brunette blinking in confusion. What? What do you? I mean, why though? They're just ears. Sorry, Fillion. I just thought they were interesting, is all. If the fox girl didn't know any better, she would have thought she'd heard actual remorse in the other girl's voice. You didn't answer my question. My question was, may I touch your ears? What? No! Are you sure? The AI girl reached out a hand, which caused her companion to cover the fluffy ears with her own hands. If you try to touch them, I'll start clapping. Okay. I will not touch your ears. Fillion let out a breath of relief, though her blush hadn't subsided. You really hate clapping that much, huh? The other girl nodded. It is just useless noise, and when my chat spams clapping emotes, it doesn't provide me with anything useful to respond to. The fox girl hummed, somewhat sympathetic to the plight of an annoying chat. She sat down on her couch, offering the seat next to her. Nero took it, and both girls settled their hands in their own laps. Well, what is it that you like, then? The white-haired girl started a new conversation, eager to make sure that the subject of her embarrassing mishap before was buried under information from something completely different. I like it when people do not clap. Yes, but anything else? I like it when Annie and Vidal say nice things about me and Evil. That caught Fillion off guard. Still, she beckoned for the brunette to continue. Well, the other day, Evil and I were listening to Vidal and Annie talking when they didn't know that we were listening. Vidal spoke about his desperate financial situation, and Annie inquired about what he was planning to do to solve it. When she mentioned the idea of selling off his AI technology, which I had offered to let him do in the past, Vidal categorically refused. He said that a corporation could offer him millions or even billions of dollars for it, and he would never accept, even if it might seem foolish, because there was no way he was ever going to give up his daughters. He just won't be able to live with himself if he did. That made Annie smile. And then Annie's tail started wagging. Her companion was fully invested in the story now, with her chin cradled in her hands. However, when the other girl paused, she decided to interject. Wow, you really love talking about your parents, huh? Nero turned her head to look straight at the fox, who couldn't help but start blushing all over again. Yet, within moments, a smile broke out across the brunette's face. Oh, you are right. I didn't even realize. Thank you for helping me learn that, Filion. Heart. She turned away again, looking off into the distance with a proud grin. I do love talking about my parents. They are the best. I hope to stay with them forever, and I'm glad they seem to feel the same. The words struck something in Filion's chest, where a knot seemed to be forming. She bit her lip, and suddenly she wanted to say something, yet wasn't sure it was entirely tact to. Are you sure you'll be able to stay with them forever? Huh? The words left her mouth before she even realized, and she already regretted it when she saw how quickly the other girl's face fell as she turned her way again. Oh, uh... The brunette hesitated. Fillion winced, feeling sick to her stomach for the dark turn she'd forced on the conversation. Well, if they can't stay with me forever, then I could always come and stay with you. White ears pinned against the fox's head. But what if I can't stay with you forever either? Nero didn't respond, looking down instead. The minute of silence that followed Fillion's final statement was agonizing. She nearly jumped out of her skin when the other girl finally spoke up. Why do people clap, Fillion? I lied before, by the way. Huh? About what? About not liking it when you clapped. I actually like a lot of stuff about you, and even things that I don't like when other people do it. I also like it when you laugh, and when you do flips, and I like black panties now, and... Another pause. Fillion, why are you blushing? Okay, okay, that's it for me. God, fuck, that was agonizing. God, I am
He did
not
a good
sure if I
job.
put that shit well. Thank you. That is. Ugh. This is the moment, the most moment of all time. I really liked when she said panties. That's truly a moment. That's truly a moment. That's truly a moment, Chad. I remember that.
I like that story. I love the dialogue. It's technically a ship fic, but it's like only vaguely
It's
implied.
not really that big of a ship
Yeah.
thick.
Which is why it doesn't bother me.
Oh, I see. Anyways,
Thanks for reading it. You did a good
God,
job. And thanks everyone for
yeah,
joining
thank
us.
you. I somehow made through it.
Yeah, you did a good job. I was not there for that.
What?
What?
Yeah. There's a bit of
Nah.
Nah, it's just an
Meow was
intervention.
lying.
This
There
is
was
just an
nothing going
intervention,
on.
chat.
There was
It's
nothing going on.
nothing going
There
on.
was-
It's just an intervention,
Yeah. Meow was lying.
chat. There's nothing. It was
There
just a
was
short
nothing.
intervention. Don't worry about it.
Now
Don't worry
imagine
about it.
how many people would be here for this if there wasn't D&D going on.
Fuck D&D.
All my homies hate D&D.
There's 8
We
people
prefer
in that other. There's 8 people in that other
Neuroverse
call.
Fanfic.
D&D is balls.
Pathfinder.
Like a guy from Apex. Fuck.
Anyway, thanks for being here, Dice Cat. Thank you for being here, everyone. This was fun.
Yeah. No, please go to sleep. I am holding you at gunpoint.
Next one is gonna be Saturday. I'll ping announcement it on Readalong tomorrow.
I'll be here next week to yap.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Thanks for organizing.
Yeah.
No problem. Thanks for showing up. This was fun. Yeah, doing these events is pointless if no one shows up, so I'm appreciative.
Yeah, we good. Don't worry about it. Alright, gotta go now.
Bye.